Hello everybody, we're back. I put it on the internet on a hub page, and now I'm going to put it on YouTube. You ready for some whole wheat bread that is keto friendly, low carb? Yes, you heard me right, wheat bread. Maybe not whole wheat bread, but it tastes like wheat bread. So that's what we're making today. I've probably forced my family to choke down more than 20 different tries of this in order to get it right. And now I'm ready to share it. It tastes really good. So we start off, the first thing you want to do is you want to get your water. I've already heated this water up just for expediency's sake. But you can see we're getting up 113, 114, 115, 116. That's plenty warm enough. Now, you want to take about a teaspoon or so of honey. And yeah, that might seem weird, but about a teaspoon or so of honey. But what happens is you put the honey in there, and the yeast, which I have here, will eat it all up. So there's no carbs to worry about from the honey because it's going to be eaten up by the yeast. So we're going to add the yeast to this nice warm sweet water to get it started. Give it a good stir like so. Make sure it has a good start, and I'll set it aside over here with my assistant. Now we're ready to go on the ingredients, the dry ingredients. The first of which is the wheat gluten. Now I used Anthony's wheat gluten. You can't see it in the picture, but I'll show it to you later. I don't know if there's a difference in brands. It's the only one I've ever used because it works so well. But I've got 1 2/3 cups pre-measured here, and that goes right in the bread machine. 1 2/3 cups. I'll set that out of the way. Then the next thing is the oat flour, and that is 3/4 of a cup of not oat flour. Sorry, not oat flour. Oat fiber. Oat fiber. 0 carbs in oat fiber. A lot of carbs in oat flour. Make sure you get the right thing. And then another 0 carb option is the golden flaxseed, which is here in this bowl, pre-measured. That is 1/3 of a cup of golden flaxseed. Also goes in. Put all your dry ingredients in first, except for the yeast. The yeast goes in the water so it can activate. And the next thing we need, and this is the good stuff, wheat bran. That's right, wheat bran. It also has a few carbs, but it's very high in fiber. That's a 1/2 cup. And what you'll see here on this is I found different kinds and different amounts. This has much less carbs than the others. And you can see here in the ingredients panel what it says. 30 calories for a 1/4 cup, 9 grams of carbs, 6 of which is fiber. So that leaves us with a net of 3. And I put in a 1/2 cup, so that's 6 just from the wheat. Oat fiber, 0. 4 carbs per 1/4 cup on the vital wheat gluten. That's our big bomb. And then the flaxseed, once again, 0. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to add our salt. Almost forgot the salt. 1 1/4 teaspoon. 1 1/4 teaspoon. Come on out of there, salt. There it goes. Okay. This is a 1/2 teaspoon measuring cup, so there's a 1/2 teaspoon. About another 1/2 teaspoon. And then for a 1/4, you want 1/2 of a 1/2 teaspoon. You're looking at right about there. So there's our 1 1/4 of the salt. Got the natural fine pink Himalayan salt there. Now, we can start mixing. I got the mixer preset at a 2-pound loaf in my bread machine, a 2-pound loaf, and I've got it set on the dough setting. So it doesn't cook, it just makes dough. Because I do the cooking in the oven. ahead and have it pushed in all the way. Had me worried. So now the next thing we need to do, you can see that our yeast is starting to activate there. Got a little bit of foam coming up on it. We start out by pouring in our yeast. I like to mix it around a little bit. Helps it to mix. Doesn't really matter much on in a bread machine, but I do it anyway. And the next thing, we have our butter. 2 tablespoons of butter. Get it mixed in there. I like scoop it out with the rubber spatula, so we're not wasting anything. We get exactly what we're supposed to have. And last but not least, 2 eggs, lightly beaten. And I get them in there. Now, as it's getting started, I like to make sure and scrape down the sides a little bit. Make sure they're getting all blended in good. It'll get going shortly. As you can see, it's already starting to form a dough ball, and it'll start spinning faster. It'll make a nice ball of dough in there, and we'll come back. What it'll do is it'll mix, then it'll rise for about 25 minutes, and then it'll knead for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then I usually take it out because it has a second cycle of rise and knead again. But because there's not very much sugar in there, we only used about a teaspoon of honey, the yeast need to feed on the honey. And I like to make sure it has plenty left to rise once it gets in the pan. So that's why I take it out a little bit early. So that's what we're going to do. And I will see you when it's time to put it on the pan. When it's almost time to put the bread dough out on the pan so that it can rise, what you want to do, turn your oven on, and turn it all the way down. And once that gets up to 170, it'll beep, and then I'll shut it off. Then the oven will have time to cool off a little bit, and it'll be perfectly warmed in order to rise the bread for about an hour before I bake it. We're now in the middle of the kneading process. It already rised, it mixed, it rised in the container. Now it's almost to the finish of kneading, and then I'll take it out, roll it out, and put it in the oven. So we'll see you in just a few short minutes to do that. Okay, we just stopped. Got a nice ball of dough in there, nice and warm. Pull it out. Kind of roll it between your hands like this. Tuck an end in like that. You'll just put some pressure on it. I'll roll it out towards the end. Same thing over here. I'll roll it up towards the end. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Now, if you were going to make loaves out of it, you'd stretch this out a little bit more, cut it in 2 and put it in loaf pans. I prefer rolls like buns myself. Easier to cook, easier to use. You don't have to worry about them going stale. Now, I got to do this fast because the stone takes the heat right out of this, and you want it to stay warm. So I'll set it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. This is most certainly not the world's best knife. One thing I didn't mention in the video earlier was the oat flour, or the oat fiber, I mean. It's very important to get the right brand. The brand I showed you, the brand I have there in my video, is the one you want to use. I thought I was getting a good deal on Amazon. I found another brand where I could get more for less money. Didn't have very good flavor. Yet made it really hard to get this recipe worked out. Now, so just so you know, now I just try to roll them around a little bit. Try to make them kind of bun shaped. You can see how they already come out kind of round and flat. It doesn't take a whole lot. I just kind of roll them this way a little bit to smooth the edges and spread them out a little bit. But as they rise, they will smooth out pretty good anyway. So this is an end piece, so it's a little tougher to get just right. Once again, as they rise, they tend to smooth themselves out. So just want to make sure you spread them out a little bit. Something like this one here is almost perfect just the way it is. The center pieces are always easier. They turn out almost perfect just the way they are. Spread them out on there a little bit. Kind of try to get them round and flat. Kind of like so. If you get them even or close to even, 8 of these should come out about 4 carbs each. Now that one and this one might be 3 carbs, these 2 and that one might be 5 carbs. But if you do it equally, you could always weigh them, make them exactly 5 carbs each. Now I'm going to put them in the oven, and so that they can rise. I've preheated the oven to 170, which is its lowest temperature, and then I shut it off about 10 minutes ago. So it should be cooled down enough where it'll rise them without cooking them. So we'll see you there. Here we are at the oven. We're getting ready to put them in. Check, make sure it's not too hot. That seems about right. Forgot to take the iron skillet out, so it's out a little warm. Put them in there. Make sure they're in there nice. Let them rise. We'll turn on the light so we can take a peek here. And we'll come back and take a look later on. And then we'll bake them. Okay. You can see our oven. It's up to 325. We're ready to put them in. Not sure why they haven't been rising up. I never had this problem before. I think it might be that yeast. I don't know what might be wrong with it. It's supposed to be their top of the line yeast, but ever since I started using it, ran out of the other. Oh well. Here we go. They still rise up plenty enough to make a nice hamburger bun. So we will see you in about 22 to 25 minutes. I'll let them cool and I'll cut one so you can see inside. Okay, see on the clock up there, about 24 minutes actually. That should be plenty. Look at that. How nice they look coming out of the oven. Nice, nice, nice. They rise up after you cook, when you cook them. It's weird. Most bread rises most of the way before you cook it. In any event, I'm going to let them cool for a few minutes, take them over to the counter and cut one open for you. And now we're back with the final part of the video. So I take one of these bad boys, slice it open for you. You can see how they're nice and soft. Still pretty warm, so they're cutting hard. Now they're real soft, so it's hard to cut them. Let's put it that way. You can see inside how they're spongy, delicious. Make great burger buns. So if you like wheat bread, this is probably going to satisfy that craving. They're not exactly like wheat bread, but they are pretty close. Lots of fiber, not too many carbs. Like I said, these smaller ones have probably 3 carbs each. Those bigger ones, you're probably up around 5. But they average 4 if you make 8 buns out of that recipe. So dig in and enjoy. You can have wheat bread again.